The gut-brain connection, how your stomach influences your mood. What if your anxiety isn't all in your head, but in your stomach? More and more research is showing something truly mind-blowing. Your gut, yes, your digestive system, might play a bigger role in your mood, memory, focus, and emotional stability than we ever realized. That little stomach ache, that bloating, that weird off feeling after eating. It might not just be physical discomfort. It could be your body's way of telling you that something's out of balance in your gut-brain connection. You may have heard the phrase gut feeling, but this isn't just intuition, it's science. Your brain and your gut are in constant communication, sending signals back and forth 24/7. This two-way system is called the gut-brain axis, and when that system gets disrupted, whether from stress, poor diet, inflammation, or an unhealthy microbiome, your mental health can take a serious hit. In this video, we're going to unpack the truth about the gut-brain connection and how your digestive health may be influencing things like mood swings, anxiety, brain fog, depression, and even how you deal with stress. We'll break down how it all works, the role of gut bacteria, the importance of inflammation, how food affects your mental state, and what you can do to feel better from the inside out. If you've been treating mental health only from the neck up, it might be time to look a little lower. Let's dive into the science of how your gut could be shaping your mind. So, how exactly are your gut and brain connected? It's called the gut-brain axis, and it's not just a figure of speech. It's a real, physical, and incredibly active communication highway between your central nervous system, your brain and spinal cord, and your enteric nervous system, the network of nerves in your gut. And get this, your gut contains over 100 million neurons. That's more than your spinal cord. It's often referred to as your second brain. This second brain isn't just there to handle digestion. It talks directly with your actual brain through a complex system of nerves, chemicals, and hormones. The biggest player in this connection is the vagus nerve, a superhighway that runs from your brainstem all the way down to your abdomen. The vagus nerve sends constant updates from your gut to your brain, and your brain responds in real time. This means your digestive system and your emotional system are in constant conversation. Feeling stressed? Your brain tells your gut to slow digestion, maybe trigger cramps, or even cause nausea. But it also works the other way. If your gut is inflamed or imbalanced, it can send distress signals back to the brain, leading to things like anxiety, low mood, fatigue, or irritability. The gut-brain axis also regulates key hormones, immune responses, and even neurotransmitter production, things like serotonin, dopamine, and GABA, the same chemicals that help regulate your mood, sleep, and mental clarity. So no, it's not in your imagination. Your gut can literally influence how you think and feel, and your mental state can directly impact your digestion. This isn't just a side theory, it's a growing field in neuroscience, immunology, and nutrition. And it's changing how we understand mood disorders, stress, and even cognitive decline. Up next, we'll zoom in on one of the most important parts of this whole system, your gut microbiome, and how trillions of tiny organisms inside you may be calling the shots. If this content is making sense to you, click the subscribe button and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for your support. Inside your gut, there's an entire world, an ecosystem made up of trillions of microorganisms. We call this the gut microbiome, and it includes bacteria, viruses, fungi, and other microbes that live primarily in your intestines. Now, here's the surprising part. These microbes don't just help digest your food. They communicate with your brain and play a direct role in your mental health. Let's start with one of the biggest connections, neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters are the brain chemicals that regulate your mood, like serotonin, dopamine, and GABA. And guess what? Your gut is responsible for producing about 90 to 95% of your body's serotonin. That's the same chemical targeted by antidepressants. Some of your gut bacteria help make GABA, which calms your nervous system. Others influence dopamine, which is linked to motivation and pleasure. In other words, your mental state is deeply tied to the health and balance of the microbes in your gut. When your microbiome is in balance, what scientists call eubiosis, you tend to feel better. You digest well, think clearly, and stay emotionally stable. But when it's out of balance, dysbiosis, the system starts to break down. Too many harmful bacteria, not enough good ones, and suddenly your gut starts sending stress signals to your brain. This can contribute to anxiety, depression, mood swings, brain fog, even memory and concentration issues. In fact, recent studies have found striking differences in the gut microbiota of people with depression and anxiety compared to those without. Researchers have even begun testing probiotic therapies for mood disorders, with some early results showing real promise. This is why some experts now refer to the gut microbiome as a virtual organ, one that plays a crucial role in both physical and emotional health. So the next time you're feeling mentally off, before you reach for caffeine or try to power through, ask yourself, what have I been feeding my brain's closest allies? Because it turns out your mood might depend on the tiny, invisible community living inside you. Up next, what happens when the gut lining itself gets damaged, and how inflammation in your belly can inflame your brain. Let's talk about inflammation, not just in your joints or skin, but in your gut, and ultimately in your brain. When your gut is healthy, the lining of your intestines acts like a tight filter. It allows nutrients to pass through into your bloodstream, while keeping out harmful substances like toxins, bacteria, and undigested food particles. But when that lining gets damaged or inflamed, it becomes more porous, less like a filter, more like a leaky faucet. This is what's often called leaky gut, or more formally, increased intestinal permeability. Now here's where it gets interesting. When things leak through that gut lining that shouldn't, your immune system freaks out. It triggers a response to protect you, which leads to chronic inflammation. And guess where that inflammation can travel? To your brain. Inflammatory molecules, called cytokines, can cross the blood-brain barrier, impacting your central nervous system. They mess with neurotransmitter production, disrupt neural communication, and even interfere with brain function. The result? You feel it as low energy, depressed mood, brain fog, anxiety, or that sense of just not feeling like yourself. In fact, chronic inflammation is now considered a key factor in many mood disorders, including major depression. Some researchers even refer to it as inflammatory depression. Leaky gut has also been linked to conditions like chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, and autoimmune disorders, many of which also carry cognitive and emotional symptoms. It's not just about what happens in your gut, it's about how those signals ripple outward and affect your entire system. So when someone says, "I feel awful, but my labs are normal," it's often inflammation at the root, and the gut is frequently where it starts. The good news? Inflammation can often be reduced with the right habits, and the gut lining can heal. But it all starts with awareness, and food plays a major role. Coming up, what you eat can either fuel the problem or help fix it. Let's explore how food affects your mood. You've probably heard the phrase, "You are what you eat." But here's a twist. You feel what you eat too. Your gut and brain are in constant conversation, and the food you eat is one of the most powerful tools or weapons you give them. Let's start with the obvious culprits: processed foods, sugar, and artificial additives. These can disrupt your gut microbiome, increase inflammation, and even damage the gut lining over time. High-sugar diets in particular feed the bad bacteria in your gut, and some studies show that excess sugar is linked not just to obesity or diabetes, but to depression and anxiety as well. And those sugar crashes, that's not just your body, it's your brain riding a chemical roller coaster. On the flip side, there are foods that actively support your gut and your mood. Here's what to focus on. 1. Fiber-rich foods. Vegetables, fruits, legumes, and whole grains feed the good bacteria in your gut. They act like fertilizer for your microbiome. 2. Fermented foods. Think yogurt, kefir, kimchi, sauerkraut, miso. These foods contain live probiotics that help diversify your gut flora and balance your internal ecosystem. 3. Omega-3 fatty acids. Found in fatty fish like salmon, chia seeds, and walnuts, omega-3s are powerful anti-inflammatories, and they've been linked to improved mood and cognitive function. 4. Prebiotics and probiotics. Prebiotics are the food for your probiotics. You can get them through foods like garlic, onions, asparagus, and bananas, or in supplement form. 5. Hydration. Even mild dehydration can impact mood and mental clarity. Your gut needs water to digest, move, and function efficiently. It's not about perfection, it's about supporting your gut so it can support your brain. The better you feed your microbiome, the better it takes care of your mental health. Start small. Swap out soda for water. Add a side of fermented veggies. Choose real food when you can, because every bite is either feeding brain fog or feeding clarity and calm. Up next, how stress flips this entire system upside down and what happens when anxiety starts. Let's talk about stress, because even if you're eating right and taking care of yourself, chronic stress can undo a lot of that hard work, especially in your gut. Here's how it works. When you're stressed, mentally, emotionally, or physically, your brain sends signals to your gut through the vagus nerve. Your body shifts into fight or flight mode, and suddenly your digestive system takes a back seat. Why? Because in a survival situation, your body doesn't care about digesting lunch. It's focused on keeping you alive. So digestion slows down, blood flow to the gut is reduced. You might feel nauseous, get cramps, lose your appetite, or have the exact opposite: bloating, gas, diarrhea. And here's the kicker: this stress doesn't have to be major. Daily tension from work, arguments, traffic, or scrolling the news can trigger the same gut response over and over again. Over time, this alters your gut microbiome, weakens the gut barrier, and increases inflammation. It can also lead to or worsen conditions like IBS, leaky gut, and chronic indigestion. But the relationship goes both ways. When your gut is inflamed or unbalanced, it sends signals back to the brain, amplifying your anxiety, irritability, and mental fatigue. This creates a vicious cycle. Stress messes with your gut, an unhappy gut messes with your mood, and a bad mood increases stress even more. So what can you do? 1. Breathe. Deep breathing activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest state. Just a few minutes of slow breathing can relax your gut and calm your mind. 2. Mindfulness, yoga, and light movement can all help regulate the gut-brain connection. 3. Prioritize sleep. Without it, both your stress and digestion will spiral. 4. Don't ignore gut symptoms. They're often early warning signs of emotional overload. When it comes to mental health, managing stress isn't optional, it's essential. And the gut is often the first place your body tells you something's off. Up next, let's look at the real-world research behind all of this and how scientists are starting to treat mood disorders by targeting the gut. So far, we've covered how the gut affects your mood, memory, and stress levels. But what does the science actually say? In short, the research is catching up fast, and it's confirming what ancient traditions and new medicine have both suspected. Mental health and gut health are deeply connected. Let's look at some key studies. In one randomized controlled trial, people with major depressive disorder were given a specific mix of probiotic strains. After just 8 weeks, they reported significant improvements in mood, comparable to those seen with some antidepressant medications. Another study found that people with generalized anxiety disorder had markedly different gut microbiomes than those without anxiety. When treated with probiotic supplements and a gut-friendly diet, many showed reduced anxiety symptoms without any psychiatric drugs. And it's not just adults. Research into autism spectrum disorder has shown that many children on the spectrum also struggle with severe gut dysfunction. Some experimental treatments, like microbiome transplants, have shown promise in improving both digestive and behavioral symptoms. Meanwhile, long-term dietary studies show that people who eat a Mediterranean-style diet, rich in vegetables, olive oil, fish, legumes, and fermented foods, have lower rates of depression than those who eat a standard Western diet. Even brain imaging studies show that gut-targeted treatments, like probiotics or dietary changes, can actually alter brain activity patterns related to mood and emotion regulation. All of this points to one truth: we can no longer separate the mind from the body, especially when it comes to the gut. Your mood, behavior, and even mental disorders may not start in the brain alone. They may begin, at least in part, in your digestive system. And that leads us to the most important part. What can you actually do about it? In the final section, we'll give you practical steps to support your gut, and in turn, your mind. So here's what we've learned. Your gut and your brain are in constant conversation. They influence each other in ways that can either build you up or break you down. When your gut is balanced, nourished, and functioning well, it supports your mood, energy, focus, and resilience. When it's inflamed, imbalanced, or ignored, it can contribute to everything from anxiety and depression to brain fog and burnout. And the best part, you have more control than you think. Here are some simple science-backed steps you can take to support your gut-brain connection, starting today. 1. Eat more fiber. Whole foods like veggies, fruits, legumes, and oats help feed the good bacteria in your gut. 2. Include fermented foods. Try adding yogurt, kefir, kimchi, sauerkraut, or miso into your meals a few times a week. 3. Reduce ultra-processed foods and added sugar. These disrupt the gut microbiome and increase inflammation, especially in the brain. 4. Drink plenty of water. Hydration helps your digestive system function smoothly and supports detox pathways. 5. Manage stress. Seriously. Deep breathing, mindfulness, movement, and quality sleep are all essential for gut-brain harmony. 6. Pay attention to symptoms. Bloating, indigestion, fatigue, and mood swings are not just random, they could be gut signals. Don't ignore them. 7. Consider probiotics or prebiotic supplements, but always check with a healthcare provider first, especially if you have underlying conditions. Healing your gut won't fix everything overnight, but it might be the missing piece in your mental and emotional health puzzle. So the next time you feel anxious, foggy, or just off, don't only look to your thoughts, look to your stomach, because sometimes the way to lift your mood isn't through your mind, it's through your gut. Thanks for watching. If this helped you see mental health in a new light, share it, drop a comment, and let someone else know. Feeling better might start with your next meal.